Let's move to Tim's stat deep dive. Cat didn't join me this week. What a dog. What a dog.
Cat. Sorry.
What a dog.
I got a text message.
Now, these four, I won't tell you what was said pre-show because Kat was horrified, but these are four of my absolute favourite players in the comp, just quietly. If I was picking
I wish people knew what you said.
well, they're not going to know. So, TS, if I was to pick four dudes from the NRL to join me for a weekend, three of these would be an absolute shit-in. One of them I really like, but the other three I love. And let's start with the Plathinator, Maxi Plath, one of my favourites. He will play Origin next year. Spoiler alert. Talk to me.
Yeah, so Maxi Plath, I saw he was one of those traded-in players this week, and I thought, look, scores inflated in recent weeks by attacking stats, pretty expensive, toughish run. I'm like, didn't like it. Then I did a dive into his numbers, and I was like, oh, I get it. So 114 points on the weekend. According to my article, it was against the Dolphins, so well written. 3-round average of 95 points.
Man in the mirror stuff.
Yeah. 3-round average of 95 points. Deep dived into his big minute games. 12 games of 60-plus minutes this season. He's averaging 72.83 points per game. In those games, 54 points in base. Like, I can see why people are bringing him in now, but he's proven to be like an 80-minute man, whether it's at lock, whether it's number 9. You could buy him this season, but even looking ahead to 2025, if he maintains this role, mate, he's got attack in him. He's got massive base in him. Gee, he could be a good start, like just a really long-term Supercoach prospect.
Bloody oath he could be. I'll tell you what, Timmy, he is the single biggest regret of my Supercoach year. And from a draft point of view more so, remember when we were up at fucking Redcliffe when I was talking him up galore. I looked at him that week in draft and thought, maybe I'm overhyping him. Anyway, I find myself here 26 weeks later picking between Tyson Gamble and fucking Kieran Foran this week. I should have had my boy. He's been so good, and I will seriously consider starting with him next year, mate. Like I actually thought playing hooker he might drop a bit of cash heading into next year, but mate, he's done quite the opposite. When I was over there in Perth a few weeks ago, I did some content with him, and the day before the game, I sort of said, what sort of minutes are you looking at? And he said, I probably won't do the 80. I've been pretty crook all week. He came out and scored 95 and played the entire 80 minutes. Like, he is an absolute animal, Max Plath. He's, I hate to say it, but he's just got Queenslander written all over him.
He does. He's a gun. This list that we're about to read out, there are a few daggers in the season of the Stones because I've owned one of them who I lost due to injury, but there's 3 of them that I've been so close to buying so many different times and didn't. But look, no use crying about it. So we move on to number 2.
Number 2 on the list is Zac Lomax, who I owned for a while, sold him about 5 or 6 weeks ago. I think he was one of the huge plays for me this year. Going Lomax. He's pretty lowly owned. When I had him, he was fantastic, and I feel like he might be just starting to come back into some form. What do you reckon?
Yes, well, the reason I think you sold him and plenty did sell him, it was coming off the back of Origin. They had a buy at one point, but then they went into a draw. There was the Roosters well over a month ago, but then it was Bulldogs, Panthers and Storm, and you just look at that and go, a winger for the Dragons, can't possibly score well. Those 3 teams rank as the first, second and fourth best defences in the NRL. Zac Lomax averaged 70 points across those 3 games.
And you know what? Going into those 3 games, there was the bye as well. If you ever look through his stump, and I don't have the exact numbers on me, but if you go and have a look through the rest of the season, against top 4 teams, he was averaging about 49 or something from memory, and then he's just blown it away against those sides, and he's been incredible. Even, he obviously played fullback against the Penrith Panthers, but I mean, the way that he roams, he gets opportunities anyway. The next 4 weeks, Titans, Sharkies, Eels, Raiders. Oh boy, it could be delicious.
Yeah. In those 3 games, the Dragons scored 38 points. That's it. And he still averaged 70 Supercoach points in that period. He turned up 108 against the Titans back in round 1. You add in now that Kyle Flanagan and Moses Sully are both out. Now the Dragons are very right edge dominant, so it won't change entirely. But losing now Flanagan and Sully, the right edge, if possible, is just going to get even more of the attacking ball.
Yeah.
He's not coming into my team. Well, he's certainly not this week, but far out. He's a good buy for the run home.
What's he priced at the moment? 60. Oh God!
Yeah, I know. 661.
Yeah, I'll be seriously looking at a way to get him this week. Yeah, very interesting player for the run home. Mate, Kale Tracey, you never owned him. I owned him for a long period of time. I sold him for Val Holmes a few weeks ago, and I reckon Val Holmes had a couple of big scores in that time. I reckon I've just about broken even, but I'm not going to lie, I am nervous as shit about not having this guy for the run home.
I watched all season, Iro, and he was mass owned, and he just couldn't drag that attack, and I avoided him because I'm a pelican, and he was just knocking out big base, but wasn't going really over like 50 or 60, and he was averaging around that sort of 50 to 55 mark, and I'm like, all right, I've got away with this somehow because he's not finding any attack. But things have changed. The attack started to come in the last month, and he's really started to hurt me. Like one that I look back on and go, mate, what have you done? Around his numbers, we know he's got a good base, but in 12 of his 17 games this season, he's had a base of 40-plus points. That is remarkable. A low of just 29. He's had one score under 46 this season. That was a 33-point effort. That was against Penrith in round 12 when Penrith wiped him. No one scores well against Penrith. We know that. Just looking ahead to the future, and I mean, certainly the end of this year, I know people are bringing him back in this week after a lot sold. Like, if the Sharks maintain good attacking football in coming years and he can maintain this base, he's a near lock from round one with a base like that. Incredible.
Yeah, it is amazing. I can't believe how it has played out for Edo. And, you know, we've been talking about him for years, that he's got this star potential, and it took so long for him to start scoring tries. But now that he has, I just can't see him stopping.
The only good thing to come out of Iro for me recently was that prior to this show, you said you sold him about a month ago, and I thought you still owned him. I'm like, oh, this is going to kill me on the run home. So that made me happy.
I sold him in round 20, and since then Val's gone 44, 104, 136, 56. Fuck, over the last few weeks, Hero's gone 84, 87, 94. It'll be a tight little... It'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the year. But, yeah, my reason why I sold him is because I already had Jesse Raymond. He was my pod place. I was like, I don't know if I want both.
Yeah.
But looking at that run, might have been a mistake. Wouldn't be the first. Guarantee it won't be the last. All right, Hamiso, which I'm going to be honest with you, Hamiso is the last person that gets an invite to my boys' weekend away with my lads.
But he's still getting an invite.
But he still gets a bait. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. Talk to me about Hamiso.
Not a lot on Hamiso. He's still owned by about 11% of top-ranked coaches, which is a reasonable amount. This is more of a condolences to those that brought him in 3 weeks ago. He was a super popular buy. He was on fire. The Dolphins have scored 82 points in the last 3 weeks, which basically coincided with when people brought in the Hammer. In those 3 games, Hammer has just 1 try, 1 line break, and 1 line break assist as his only major attacking stats. Supercoach average of 45 in those 3 games. That's so unfair. Like, how is he not Jag more?
Yeah, I didn't realise it was that bad.
Yeah.
That's dreadful, eh? Christ, I'll tell you what too, that one try that he scored, that was over in Perth, and he ran past me on the sideline. It's the first time I've watched him up close. God, he is just a pleasure to watch. He just glides. He's an absolute freak.
So...
Yeah, geez, that's grim considering all the points they've scored.
Oh, so unfortunate. So then he goes into games against Dogs, Storm, Broncos, Knights. He's at 598K now, break-even of 109. Obviously, it's a very trade-dependent thing how many you have left, but should owners cut ties with him?
Yeah, Canterbury, Melbourne, from what, like that Melbourne game's at Amy Park, they won't rest players in that. I don't think they'll rest the week after, apparently. So, mate, that's two of the 3 hardest matchups, probably. Very tough. And, mate, even the last game, Newcastle at McDonald Jones, last game of the year, I think I probably would cut ties. What price is he at?
598.
Jeez, if I could move Hamiso to Lomax, I think I would.
Yeah, agreed. I think like if you've got like 2 trades left and you're sitting there, you probably don't need to do it because, yes, it's an upgrade, but you can also do a lot with those last 2 trades and you're playing with fire. But if you've got sort of 3 or 4 trades left, certainly 4 I'd move him on. 3's a question mark, 2 I'd hold.
In saying that, I mean, he gets the game at Suncorp Stadium on a fast track. That probably suits him. Brisbane, fuck knows what we're going to get there. And granted, Newcastle at McDonald Jones, but I assume that'll be a Sunday afternoon. Like,
not a must sell.
Not a must sell.
But if you've got trades.
Okay, if I was Cat, I would sell. I'd go to Lomax with 7 trades.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you have it? You've sold him, haven't you?
Yeah, I sold him.
Yeah. All right. Is that our deep dive done and dusted?
That is.
I enjoyed that, Timbo. That was good gear.
Thanks, mate.